music. You will be inspired to think higher, realize your gift. Join the muses and Michelle and Gina. Turn this up and through your speakers. It's the music of music.
And here we are. Like, this is just unbelievable, you all. This is season 3, and you are with the muses behind the music. I am your host, founder, Michelle Fallon. This is really just, y'all know how life will go, right? So you don't always anticipate that you'll be in this thing that long. And so people are like, okay, season 3. Yeah, like there are nearly 23, 25 people who are interviewed each season. It's a lot of work, but hey, here we are. We've made it, and I'm excited. I'm grateful to you all, your constant support of us being able to present a platform for artists to share who they are, not just in the work that they do, but as human beings, because oftentimes we just get to know people based on what we see and not experience really who they are, because who they are adds a whole new dimension to their creativity, whether they are a visual performer, artist, or they are a performing performer artist. I mean, all of it, the gamut, or they are creative writers, or they are poet laureates, or whatever it is that they do. They rely on us to really know a bit more about who they are so that their art can speak truly and we can hear it with clarity or better ears for when we know that. So I thank you for your constant support. This season promises to be, I would say, just as stellar. Yeah, I'm going to say it, just as stellar as any other season, because the guests are just phenomenal. They have a story. And I think that my theme for this 3rd season is about community and connectivity. Those two things have to go hand in hand. And the various things that artists are doing in community to be connected. We're going back or coming back out of this pandemic, and we're trying to discover new normals. Hopefully we have left behind some of the things that were, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, that don't deserve our energy, our time, our effort, and we're trying to find these new ways to be. And so all of these artists this season, they represent something of that magnitude. And so tonight I'm starting off season 3 with Tona Brown. This sister is fierce. First of all, y'all will get to see the outfit, because the outfit in itself is so fire. And I thought, hello, I didn't know, we didn't plan the colors. Y'all will see it, but just to know that we were, linked up together to have the right shades of yellow and fierceness coming on, that to me was great. Tona is a mezzo soprano, a violinist, a fierce advocate for the LGBTQ plus community. She went to Shenandoah University. She is performing internationally, speaking at colleges and universities, trying to help us who are stuck in our ideologies of how the voice should be taught, or can we teach voice to those who are transgender? I mean, a lot of us just have a hard time if we're, in the classical, European classical school of thought and teaching somebody how to sing R&B. So let alone when we are presented with voices that are different from the traditional. But she's working that out and getting the message out. And then the advocate for young people. Lord, y'all know my heart and my ministry is for the young people. And what she is doing as an LGBTQ advocate for young people who are in the arts and finding that safe space and giving platform to hear their voice, not only as the singers or the instrumentalists, but the voice, the heart of who they are. Without further ado, come on and welcome to the muses behind the music, Miss Tona Brown. Hey, fierceness.
Hello, how is everyone?
How are you? Like, okay, I'm gonna take a moment because I already told you that the outfit is fire. I love everything about it. It reminds me of strawberry pink lemonade, whatever it is. It's great. Who designed it? We need to know.
Okay, so I've been dressed by Robert E. Knight of REK um, um, Ready Wear. I mean, he has just been integral in my performances, all of my major performances, and especially when I go to New York, I always go run straight to him. Whatever he has in production that season is what I usually wear. And so this is one of his thing. And he knows that I love the drama of a sleeve, of a ruffle and a sleeve, honey. So he always makes sure to gives me a nice classy silhouette, but with some kind of pow.
Well, shout out to Robert, because when I'm in New York, I might have to give him a holler too and be like, my girl Tona said, I need to come directly to you. Ain't it great when people just know your style? I love that. It's like my makeup artist. Let me shout her out right now, Nicole Steele. She knows that nobody else touches my face except for me. But
That's right.
She knows, and I'm just so very picky because she has the understanding. And all of what we do as artists, the look, it might not be like the thing that we are just focusing on, but aesthetically, it has to be together too.
Absolutely.
I mean, judge you. You walk into a room and they are looking at you from head to toe before you even open up your mouth. So, give them what they came for.
That's right. And it's so important. And it also makes you feel good, right? When you put on that garment, that gown, and you go out there to sing that aria or art song, or when I go to play with orchestras, or if I'm playing, it doesn't matter where it is. As long as I'm feeling good about my presentation and how I look, I'm going to play better. So it does something for us. And it also helps us to get into character, depending on exactly what you're presenting as well.
The preparedness of what you look like is just as important. I'm so glad that you said that, because I think sometimes some people kind of like second nature that. And that is, you're wholeheartedly correct. If I go on stage and I'm feeling good about how I look and I'm already prepared with my music, I know that, when I step out there,
it's on fire.
FIYY.
That's it.
It. No, all those things are so very essential. So, who are you? Like, I have read so much about you, and it's like the world knows who you are, but I am certain that there are others who still need to know who you are. Where do you hail out of? How did you get into this whole beautiful thing of music?
Well, I am the manifestation of the community from which I came. My tutelage, all of the pedagogues that I work with were all Black seniors who had a passion for music. So ever since I was in middle school, I was in a junior music program at Norfolk State University. I was at programs at ODU working with musicians from the Virginia Symphony and the Virginia Opera. And then I went to the Governor's School for the Arts, where I was in a highly competitive, prestigious environment that was similar to Juilliard or any other conservatory program. And so throughout this time, I realized that I wanted to perform. I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to be a musician. And at the time, I didn't really think about my singing voice, although I'd been in choir at church all growing up, off and on. But it was the violin, because I started off as a dancer, and I was very talented in ballet, tap, and jazz, but they are also very strict on your weight. And at the time, I had not transitioned, so I was trying to do all this as a male embodied person, still trying to figure myself out. And then I had the hips and the thighs and stuff, and it just
Right.
and I was becoming so self-conscious because my body just naturally started changing as I got older, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on with myself.
Right.
It's just a lot. And so I realized that, not to put down anyone because I love my BBWs, but I realized that I could be a quote unquote big girl and still be in music and not be judged so harshly in classical music. And also, I just felt more comfortable with being able to get behind the violin, concentrate on something that was exterior to me, when I was trying to figure out myself as a teenager.
I love how you put that, concentrating on something that was exterior to you as you were trying to figure things out.
In the interior,
In
yeah.
the interior, that's heavy. Did you have the support? Was there somebody who kind of helped you bridge those gaps in the
Absolutely. What's interesting, I mean, again, we're dealing with Southern Black people, and you
process?
know how we can be.
Mhm.
So, but what was wonderful was that these pedagogues that I'm talking about saw talent over everything else. So they
Yeah.
may not have understood what I was going through or why I was feeling kind of depressed or whatever. But what they knew was that I had a gift for music, and so they would just invite me to come and perform for every major event, for weddings for their soror sisters. The professors would take me with them and their families to the symphony because my family was poor. And
Mhm.
so even though I was in all these gifted and talented programs, you know how those programs are. It's usually around wealthy kids,
Mhm.
who could pay $1,200 for a bow. You know what I'm saying? That was not my reality at all. And I
Right.
also was told up front by my family that if I was going to go to college, I need to figure out how to pay for it.
Yeah.
So therefore, I ended up going with these pedagogues and these different teachers who would give me hours and hours of lessons for free.
Mhm.
They knew at one point I was living with an aunt so that I could go to the governor's school. My parents had moved here to Northern Virginia, where I reside now, but I didn't want to move. I was devastated because
Mhm.
I just won the audition to get into the governor's school. And so for 2 years, I stayed in the projects of Norfolk. And another 2 years, I stayed with my grandfather, who lived off of Tidewater Drive, which but wasn't too far from the projects as well.
Yeah.
And so we built this community, and these teachers grabbed me in. One that I would like to shout out that helped me to bridge the gap was Mr. Daryl Husky.
Mhm.
He was one of the first Black teachers, male teachers in the Norfolk school system, that was teaching violin. And so in seventh grade, I heard him play Vivaldi's Four Seasons, and he was just practicing. And I was like, I heard that on the radio, and my stepfather had given me a CD. No, back then it was still cassettes, I think. So it given me a cassette that had this Vivaldi Four Seasons, and I would listen to it all the time and just think, how do people play that high and so fast? And
Mhm.
I go to class one day, and this man is playing it. From that day forward, I could visualize myself, which is why representation is so important.
Yeah.
I could visualize myself playing this piece, playing the Mendelssohn with an orchestra, doing all these things, and you couldn't keep the violin out of my hand after that. That's
Yeah.
all.
I'm glad that you talked about the representation because I've gotten into conversations with other educators, both Black and white, who have been befuddled about what the importance was. And I'm like, that's kind of like saying, you know, we didn't understand having a Black president in office until it took place. That's just how significant it is that it now gave other young people, oh, I can do this thing too. Wait a minute now, it's possible because I see someone who looks like me and is doing this. And so there's no limits, no bounds in it. When did the whole voice come in? Because what's interesting to me is you know, as you were trying to like find yourself, the people who were willing to take you and your voice and who you knew you were and say, okay, I'm going to help you along this path, this journey?
Absolutely great question. It didn't happen until college. I was always encouraged because I was in gospel choirs and stuff, and I would always sing in the alto section. And it wasn't until college that I met so many people that were encouraging me to sing. And the first person was my roommate at the time, who, bless his heart, he passed away. His name was Delonte Clark, and he was a Heldon tenor. And so he had many issues being a rare voice type, so that he could relate to what I was going through. And so he, in turn, introduced me to other vocal folk from, you know, because I was in the violin performance program. And that's when I met my best friend at the time. And she had me sing for the vocal science teacher. And the woman, the story is funny. She was very nonchalant, and she's an older woman. You know what I'm saying? And I love especially older women. Most of my friends to this day are in their 60s and 70s and stuff like that. And she was just nonchalant. She said, okay, she told her to give me this exercise. And I sang my first high C because of the way the exercise was. And she said, oh, was that an A or something? And so my girlfriend was like, that was a C. And I don't even have a C today. She was a dramatic, more like a spinto dramatic soprano, but she was singing dramatic mezzo at the time. And so we were just like in awe. I was in awe. And she said to me, she was moving things around and not even paying attention, I thought. And so she was trying to end the day. So you can imagine someone who's trying to get out there with traffic. So she's having me do all these things. She said, oh, try this, do this on this file. Okay. She's looking. And so then she turns to me and very bluntly says to me, if you keep singing the way that you're singing, you won't have a career. You're putting too much weight trying to sound like a tenor. You're really a soprano. So if you really want to, you're a mezzo probably. And if you really want to sing, then you're gonna have to start singing in your true voice. Okay.
Wow. So wait, was this before you started taking
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't transition until fully until after. I mean, everyone knew something was different about me and all that kind of turned on, but I didn't start any chemical transition or anything like that until after college.
Did the voice change naturally beforehand? It lowered itself?
I have always sung alto in choirs and especially, and that's what college was so awesome, because then I tried to do tenor stuff, but my voice, they called me a tenorino. Once I warmed up, I couldn't sing down to where most tenors would go to, like a low A below the C. I just could, it just wouldn't be, you know, and I would be trying my best.
That's that morning voice thing.
Right. And they would be like, what role could we give you? Because you can't even sing where this is quote unquote normal. But that should have told them. And this is why I became a pedagogue and why I became a teacher myself. That should have told them off the bat. But it took this older woman, her name is Dr. Ogg. It took her not even to be paying attention, not even knowing where I was on the piano, to not be looking at me, but to listen.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and
I do.
No matter what she might have perceived or saw on the outside, she was listening to the voice. And so that's when I started working with different people, Patricia Wolf, my good girlfriend, Keita, who's in Maryland, who is a dramatic soprano. Keita took me out of the tenor section and said, look, you need to come over here. I want you to start studying with my teacher. And she, at the time, had been working with my roommate. From that point on, then I learned that I had another problem. not only is your voice kind of freakishly high and all that kind of stuff to be born male, but
Mhm.
now it's about the vocal size. So my teacher at the time had been touring the country singing Carabino. So of course, the first thing she asked me to sing was what it was, it Voy que sapete.
Mhm.
That was the first thing that we did. She was like, you're too loud. I don't think that you would get work singing this. And I'm like, what? So now
Girl,
I'm
what you saying?
like, wait a minute, I'm finally feeling comfortable.
Right.
I have friends who are supporting, which is very important. Friends who are
Absolutely.
supporting and just, I'm waking up in the morning singing, oh, what a beautiful morning, and having a good time and learning and doing research on different things. And so the first disappointment was Dr. Ogg didn't take me as a student. She said that I should go and study with someone who is used to my timbre. And so they sent me to another teacher, and that was not going to work. That person was messy, and I don't do messy. So I did not study with that particular person. And then after that, I started and begged Miss Wolf to take me on as a student. And then we just did technique
Mm.
forever.
Yeah.
We didn't care about repertoire.
Right.
Was more the technical things.
Right.
Was very patient because I had a lot of bad habits because I was in gospel screaming. And so I had a lot of tension issues. And so she was very patient. And then I started working with other people who kept saying, well, the voice is the voice is the voice.
Yeah.
And those were the only people that I would work with. And that's what you see today.
And that's what I would like for more vocal pedagogues to focus on. You said the word that the Dr. Og just listened. And I think that that's like the key right there, because oftentimes what we will do is we'll see what's in front of us and then perceive what it should be. I hate that word should, but that's what we do instead of just closing our eyes. This is a life lesson too, y'all. Listen up, listen in real good, because we do this all the time. We judge with our eyes and send it to our brain about something that we've never heard, experienced before. And we forget to really listen in to what is being said, what is being done. And then we can hear the inner workings, the finer tunings. We'll hear the truth, the authenticity of what's in front of us versus what we have preconceived.
Well, this is a problem for Black women in general.
Mm.
Okay. A lot of my good girlfriends, some who are going to watch this, a lot of them were typecast as soon as we started getting into opera and classical music because the ranges are so much wider. And so even as a teacher, you realize that, okay, well, even if you have a 5, 6, 7 octave, something crazy range, that doesn't mean that you should be singing in different parts of your voice all the time.
Right.
And so I have good girlfriends who are coloraturas, but if they're in a certain part of the country or places in the world, because they're African American, the first thing that people will assume is that they're a mezzo, period. And especially if they can sing a little lower, they have a little lower extension. They will quickly be typecast into something. Most of the clients that I teach, because I teach hundreds of students a year, one of the things that I've noticed is having to get into them psychologically so that they can free their voice. A lot of times they will come to me assuming that they're one voice type when there's something totally different. I mean, drastic, you guys. Like it'll be like a contralto who thinks that they're a soprano or something like, but 9 times out of 10, it's everyone assuming that they are a higher voice than they are, or and if it's a Black woman in particular, because of all this stuff that we have to deal with, usually everyone wants to sound like the power belter altos or the mezzo belters or something. So you will have that when you get out here and you start teaching and you're realizing, oh no, honey, you're a soprano. Like embrace it, love it.
Yeah. This is across the board. You know,
across the
I
board.
can't even begin to tell you. I mean, and you know, like whether you're trans or not, you'll get the students who have just thought to themselves, I am this thing. And I'm hearing all of this stuff that's either high or low. And I'm like, no, you're a lazy alto or you're a lazy soprano. You just haven't worked enough to build on the heights and what you really have in your the full depth and breadth of the registration. Like, yeah, no, we get it all the time. I think this is a great space to take a listen to something that you have done. This was back in during pandemic 2021. Can you share about this performance? It was online, and you were doing both of
Oh, okay. So
perform.
this performance in particular, I actually pre-recorded for a university.
Oh,
They have me come and coach the students every year or every other year up in Anianta, New York, at Hartwood College of Music.
okay.
And so I used to go up there and do a number of master classes, but because of the pandemic, we decided to pre-record a recital.
Awesome. Let's take a listen to a little bit of this.
It's I'm since away. I'm since away, 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 away. Far from the friends of day, far from the lands of day. Far from the far from the friends of day. Or sitting here suddenly, you should think. Or sitting here suddenly, you should think. A sweet flight will take. It's ever since away, ever since away, 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 a sweet flight, a sweet flight will take. A sweet flight will take. A sweet flight will take. A sweet flight, a sweet flight will take. In souls thy hunger is down we readily in silencer. With noise and light, with noise and light, I will his peaceful last. While shining like in pleasing rest, into my power is best. He answered lies and sins with me. Oh, grateful dragon's eyes. It's, I've since away. I've since away, 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 away. Far from the rents of day, far from the rents of day. Far from the rents, far from the rents of day. Sitting here suddenly, you should think. Or sitting here suddenly, you should think. Sweetly fly will take. It's ever since away, ever since away. Away, away, away. A speedy flight, a speedy flight will take. A speedy flight will take. A speedy flight will take. A speedy flight. A speedy flight will take.
You better
Woo!
stay in
Woo!
to stay committed. I can't even begin to tell you how many times I just talk to my students about the share essence of, hey, listen, it doesn't end until the song is over. but so stay in character the whole way through. Thank you for that. Those lows that you hit.
Woo! Well, I'm very proud of that in particular because singing the rep that I normally do, Dulila and stuff like that. That was the first time I allowed a teacher to give me coloratura and felt comfortable with it, and to start learning more contralto repertoire. And so I'm very, very proud of that because when she first gave it to me, I was like,
why? What are you doing?
My voice does not like to move, but she said, we got to find something that you can do that fits in a register, where you can ease into lightening the voice and doing some of these things.
Yeah.
And so I'm all about experimentation with things. So I was like, okay, if you can find something that, I don't feel like I'm about to die doing. And she did, and it's become one of my favorite pieces to do, that showcases that, even if you have a thicker voice, you can get around.
You can move. You can move. That's so important, because the other thing becomes nobody just wants to hear a one-dimensional singer, like when you can do it all, even if that's not the focus. It's the fact that, I can. Let me show you that I can. All right, put that away. Now let me get to the things that I like the most. We keep it moving. Are you still doing any sort of lessons, coaching with?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
I am a lifelong learner.
Yeah.
I mean, again, that was very recent, and that was the first time I'd done something like that. So again, I was learning it. It was new. I had never even heard of it before. And because I had started singing the Messiah and doing some different things, all because of this particular coach, Miss Tavernier in Alexandria, Virginia. She said, oh, well, let's try this. Oh, let's try that. And I said, okay. She said, well, you really should be working as a singer because I do so much violin.
Right.
And so, it's kind of hard to balance both at different times, but different seasons, you got your singing gigs and then you have your violin stuff. And then sometimes at the same time, you might see me at a church playing with the orchestra and then running over there and hitting.
That's right. Listen, the singer, the director, the pianist right here. You know what I'm saying? I gave it. All right. I'm going to do my best to utilize
exactly.
what the creator.
And you also, the other reason why I do it, and I'm so passionate about doing multiple genres and multiple instruments, is because that's how I survived through college. That was what gave me the money to be able to go to school. And I knew I had a limited time there.
Yeah.
While everybody else was partying and everything, I was practicing 4 or 5 hours a day because I knew that if the money ran out,
that was it. Yeah. That was it. Oh man.
So I took every opportunity I could. While I was there, I was going to master classes with my best friends who were singers. I was singing trumpet. I was doing whatever. I was focused because I knew that if I did not meet the requirements for the scholarship, or if something was to change, I was going to have to leave. So I took full advantage of my training.
And that's necessary. I went to Howard, and, I love my alma mater, but I saw a lot of people wasting time. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people who were receiving loads of money, wasting time. And my parents, thank God, sent me through school. But my mind was, I can't waste this scholarship I'm getting the scholarship from my parents. I've got to do all that I can so that when I leave this place, I still have something that I can go towards. And it's just mind boggling at like the people who just don't take advantage of what's given to you. It's given to you, and here you are, you busting your tail because you got to make sure that you can keep the little bit that is there. That's a lesson in itself. For 29 years, I have been an educator. I'm finally outside of the classroom walls. It wasn't the intent of my heart. So it was hard to be an educator and a performer all the same time because, you know, them children will wear your voice out, you know. But there have been so many young people that have come across my path. And I'm glad that now in this area, there are outlets, platforms for the LGBTQ community to feel safe, to feel like they have a voice, like they are needed. And one of the things for me, though, is that I've always felt like I could not connect. Like there was this connection, but I wanted to be able to connect on a deeper level in helping them in their artistry. And so, one of the things I want to know from you is what do you share with someone like me who desires that? Because there are a bunch of other teachers who want to make sure that we're meeting the needs of all of the students who come across, specifically for me, about feeling more comfortable in
Absolutely.
teaching. And even though, you know, times are changing, Tona, like at one point in time, we would have never even been able to sit here and have this kind of conversation and
Mhm.
feel comfortable about it. But what are you sharing with the young people? Because on so many levels, as they're dealing with the same things that you dealt with, they're trying to find their space as artists too.
Absolutely. Well, first, I go to the educator. So, the National Association of Teachers of Singing has had me do a masterclass in Virginia about rare and unique voices,
Mhm.
specifically transgender. But I work with so many rare and unique voices because, again, even if you're not having an issue with the gender stuff or gender expression getting in the way of your training, the fact that you're a dramatic, the fact that you are a coloratura or something working with the wrong people can be hazardous.
Mhm.
So the first thing I do is try to do the techniques that my teacher, Mr. Husky, trained me ever since I was 14. And that is that you cannot be a great teacher unless you can put yourself in the shoes of the student first.
Yeah.
First, if you're not the type of person that can empathize with where that person is, then you're going to be the type of person that's going to be judgmental or that's going to say, oh, this student isn't working hard enough or whatever it is. You're going to bring your stuff to it. But when you can empathize with that person, what must that person be going through? Or, you know, if they're telling you about certain frustrations that are going on, just listen.
Yeah.
Just just doing that enough. I remember all of my first formative teachers, they were the type of ladies who couldn't understand why people would not just accept the voice that they heard.
Right.
That was it. They
Right.
were just like, look, we're all supposed to be hearing here.
Mhm.
And what I'm hearing is this. This is what I'm hearing. I don't care what no one says. This is what I'm hearing. Am I
Right.
crazy? And we would just laugh about it. And so when I would go to these auditions and do these different things, they were like, they kept it real with me, which was good.
Mhm.
There are going to be some challenges when you walk into the room and you're presenting and you're doing these things. Because again, I had started my vocal training before I transitioned.
Yeah.
Right. So, they were very, very honest about that. But they said when you open your mouth, you be prepared,
Yep.
you have your technique together, have your stuff done, memorize all those type of things. Because the other thing is preparedness. No matter what someone
Absolutely.
is going through, as long as they are prepared, they can get out there and do what needs to be done. Now, as far as the students themselves, when I'm
Mhm.
working with them, what I try to explain to them is exactly the opposite of what I told the instructors. Everyone is not going to understand necessarily who you are,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
Especially when I'm dealing with my trans students.
Mhm.
You have to be the divo or diva of
Mhm.
your voice. If something's not feeling right, I
Yeah.
don't care. You're leaving a lesson and you're turning hoarse
Yeah.
or there's any pain, any kind of thing like that, leave.
Yeah.
No disrespect to the person. The person is trying to either force you to be something that you're not, or they're not understanding the path that you need to go on. And so that's okay too. But I think one of the things with the young people that I've noticed with all of the progress that we have made, not just LGBTQ, not just Black or minorities, but just in general, progress on many fronts, is this notion that everyone is going to get it, they should get it, and that it's going to happen tomorrow. That's just not realistic.
No, you need to give that up, or whoever's thinking that, give it up.
That's just not the way it is. So your job, though, is to go in and present the best performance or audition that you can and let your talent show. If they're confused up here, that's one thing, but your talent, they be confused about. And if you're prepared, trust me, you will get that audition. If you don't get that one, go up the street. Somebody is going to hire you because you're prepared, you're talented, you're amazing, all of those things. And so it's more of a psychological coaching that I give my students with realness. And then the teachers, it's okay, y'all. Let's let go of these microaggressions and these biases, and let's just talk about vocal technique, and let's see if you hear what I'm hearing.
Right.
And so if people, there on my Patreon, actually, there are some videos of me coaching all of these different students at the University of North Carolina School for the Arts. And there was an older teacher there. She was in her 70s, who came up to me afterwards and she said, "Miss Brown, I'm not supposed to tell you this." And I said, oh. And the dean, who was the acting dean, is one of my good girlfriends who hired me to come there. And she braced herself and she said, "I have never seen anyone do what you did in 10 minutes with those students." She said, "We've had all kinds of people come here."
Yeah.
And she said, "Don't you ever give up." She said, "I just have never witnessed that. What you were able to do with them in 10 minutes. And I said, "You know what? I really appreciate that." I said, "But I became a vocal connoisseur as a young person. Because I love the richness of different voices and listening. And I would go to different master classes and I would sing with different people. And I made it my goal to be able to hear different things and then how to fix those things. And every student to me is a puzzle to get them, because we all have it inside of us to do."
Yep.
You know, and so she said it, and then there was a long line of people, and all of the students said the same thing. And many students, whenever I do sing or present or perform, and even at Carnegie Hall, when I had my Carnegie Hall debut, there's always tears somewhere. And you know what that is? It's not that I'm better than you. It's not that I have the most amazing voice or anything. It's simply because it's something that society has said is not possible.
Right.
Now you're sitting here looking at it, and God is working through me to show you that. That bias that you had that said that it's impossible for someone who was born a certain way to sing a B flat, or to even present or be beautiful, all of those type of things. Now you're seeing it. It's all in one, and it's in the most beautiful art. Beautiful art form. You know, I'm singing African American art songs. I'm singing Negro spirituals. I'm singing French, German, Italian, and Latin. I'm doing all these different things that someone along the way or a group of people have told you is impossible.
Yeah.
And that representation is important, because you don't have to be a transgender person to get that.
Absolutely. Come on and say that again. That is the truth right there. You talk about you singing the spirituals. You did an event. Help me remember. This was I don't remember how long ago it was, but you met my man, my friend Barack Obama, right there.
That's right.
What was that event?
So that was, oh my goodness, such a blessing. That was the LGBTQ leadership conference, gala conference in New York at the Sheraton. And there was over 2,000 to 4,000 people there. And we raised about $7 million that night.
Wow.
Each plate was $1,200.
Wow.
And
And
each
you ate
picture with him is worth $15,000 a picture.
crazy. Crazy.
And mind you, the story behind that is interesting because I'm one of those people, you can't tell me I can't do something. So I heard that he was going to be at this event. And I contacted them and I said, I know you got all these famous people doing stuff, but I would like to bring an orchestra to really give the fanfare or a string ensemble or something like that. I really didn't think they were going to ask me to sing.
That's all right. No, listen, let me tell you something. You did grassroots. And I think that a lot of upcoming artists today miss out on that. Now, I will credit the people who are in like rap. They are like, grassroots artists. They're doing things behind the scenes, getting to the clubs, going to wherever. But in the classical realm, that is how I learned this thing. I was creating my own recitals. I was getting the sponsorships. I was looking in the newspaper every single day for the churches or the places that were having recitals. And I was going and I was auditioning. If you turned me down that year, I went back and I auditioned the following year until you said, well, yes, because sometimes people are all about, well, you don't have a name and but that's what we need to continue to do. Be the best advocates for ourselves. Know your worth as an artist, and what you can offer and bring to the table to people, and just show them, like, call them up.
Go for it. I mean, the worst they can say is no, right? And
period.
The thing was, it was so funny because behind the scenes, when I was backstage, there were like some makeup people and there were some producers. And I mean, those events are so meticulous down to the 5 minutes.
Right.
And I remember praying backstage and just being like, oh my goodness, because it was a fiasco. First of all, if people knew in my head, what I thought my career was going to be, I thought I was going to be a famous chamber musician. I've worked on so much of the literature in chamber music because I dived into it because I absolutely loved it. I love playing with other people, just not in a huge symphony setting, my thing, but smaller ensembles, because I love hearing certain phrases and being able to mimic. And it feels like we're improvising, even though it's already written, because of having those nuances and mimicking and leading and all that. And so I offered, as I was stating before, to bring an ensemble, because again, I'm never nervous when I play with ensembles. It's just, compared to solo, where you get like some anxiety or whatever, adrenaline rush. And so, of course, on the way up there, they tell us that I cannot bring the ensemble because one of the gentlemen had been institutionalized at some point in his life. And so therefore he couldn't be on the stage. They were scared that he might be a risk to Barack Obama. And then one of my good girlfriends, who's a fantastic violist, she had some emergency with her child right before. So there goes my violist. So it was, and mind you, this all happened the week of. Everything planned out. My cellist had made a beautiful, unique arrangement that we were gonna do, just like new, and girl, everything was going wrong. But I said, you know what? I got to do this. It was something that I just felt in my spirit that I just had to do.
Yeah.
So on the way up there, all these layers are falling. People are not working out. So I get there and they say, oh, is there a way you don't need to bring an instrument in, because you have to have that, Secret Service has to like scan it and all that. And so next thing I know, girl, I'm up there and I have to do this a cappella.
Oh, look.
So I'm like, how did this happen?
So much for hiding.
Yes, so much for hiding. So I was like, okay. So I just did a prayer and said, okay, let's do this vocally. Let's see if they can do any kind of track or something. But if not, I'm just going to go out there and do this, do it in the right key, and just do it. And that's exactly what I did. I just went out there. Before I knew it, they had a background shot. The sound man was so amazing. He made that whole open space sound like a cathedral.
Yeah.
Good money.
Yeah.
I don't know who he is, but they obviously had the best for the president, right? So
Right.
that whole place, as nervous as I was like, I'm gonna get out here. And then they had to rush and turn all the stuff down because having a larger instrument. So they just had the little mic all the way up at the ceiling. And I was like, am I gonna even be able to hear myself? Because it's a hotel. So it's like a big open dead space.
I was gonna say the deadness of it all. Yeah.
And but one of the things that I tell my students all the time, it doesn't matter how large the audience is, if it's a bookstore, if it's a church, no matter where it is, your job is to give the best performance you can.
Come on and say it again. That's the truth.
And it shouldn't matter all this minutia that you hear. And we wonder why our art form is not as supported as it should be in America. People are too preoccupied with all this extra stuff. My job is to go in there and give the best presentation as possible. And that's what even if I don't know how it's going to go, I do it. And recently I was at New York City Black Pride and the piano was broken. Oh. So people are like, oh, you did this by yourself with no music. You're so talented. Well, guess what? There was no choice. The piano
was busted. I had to. Right.
Yeah. So, but as a performer, you have to be prepared so that when those type of things happen, you just go into automatic mode and just close your eyes and let it work out. And the audience didn't know any different. They were crying, very appreciative. I got a standing ovation. But inside of my head, I'm going, okay, this would sound so much better if I could hear the beginning.
We're always the hardest critic. Right. I was like, it ain't never right. But people were blessed. And that's the thing that we always have to keep remembering.
That's right.
If but for one, God, then, hey, you done what you were supposed to do through me. I give you all the praise for that.
And that was the prayer right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I can just bless somebody with this and someone feels good about it, because the program was very heavy, talking about death and all of these diseases and things that are going on right now with monkeypox. And so it was really heavy. And so it touched my spirit to do a meditation. And it was for people who know the repertoire, the meditation from the opera Thais by Massenet. Yeah. And I said, you know what, this would be perfect. And I asked the audience to take 3 deep breaths and to close their eyes and just listen to the music because the energy was so thick. About the empath. So I can feel those energies.
Yeah.
So the energy was so thick in there. I said, what can I do to kind of lighten this up? Playing something fast and virtuosic and all that kind of stuff. That's not what was needed.
Right.
And that's the other thing you have to get good at, y'all, because I get hired for mostly major events. And I don't dummy down our repertoire for those events. I sing or play the real stuff, but I have to know what will fit that particular event.
That's it. Knowing your audience. I can't say that enough because, I sing classical music. I direct gospel music. And by the way, let me just say that I don't play around with the hooping and hollering when it comes to gospel. I am good technique because I want these young people to have longevity in their careers, whether you want to be an R&B or gospel performer, whatever it is. But all of that is knowing your audience and being able to put a program together or sing one song that across the board of what you have in front of you is going to be received. Like that's so important. So you tapped right into that. Tona, what's next on the horizon? You have 3 areas of expertise.
Yeah.
Are you focusing in on one versus another right now? Are you bringing them all together? Are you culminating a book? Are you doing a movie? Or what are you doing for the next steps in your life?
Well, the next steps is for me as you mentioned, a culmination of everything. First, I'm very pleased to announce that there's going to be a memoir coming out about my life.
I love it.
Yeah,
And is it anytime soon that we can expect this?
I don't know, because right now we're in the editing process, and I would like for that book to one day become a movie. So
Wow.
we're working really hard to develop that. So that's one of the first things. Also, I'm concentrating really hard on developing my teaching style and curriculum so that it can be taught to other teachers. So that we don't have it to where just some people know the information and other people don't, all that kind of stuff. And so I'm focusing on my company, AIDA Studios, developing the curriculum, going around to colleges and universities and showcasing how these things, because of having a rare and unique voice, all of these things that I had to figure out, not only for myself, but also other pedagogues who teach rare and unique voices or dramatic voices as well, like Dolores Zajic, who's one of my big mentors, and people like that. So that's the other thing that I'm trying to do. So the biggest thing is bridging all of this work together and showcasing what my life was like, how I got to where I am today, the challenges, the ups and downs, and the blessings of going through this experience to figure out who I am.
Yeah.
And also developing AIDA Studios. Right now, we're just doing concerts and events, but we do a lot of things virtually. I teach all my music lessons online, all of those type of things. So that's where I am right now. I'm trying to get those things together to go to the next level. I'm excited about this book. I done kept it very real in that book.
Yeah.
So it's been a very cathartic experience.
Real. Yeah. They want to know the real. They're nosy and they want to know the real. All right. I'm one of those people too. I'm inquisitive, but I do enjoy like knowing about some of the struggles that people have gone through. I tell you what, you know why I really hate social media? Because I think that it's fake. I think that people have the opportunity to just, they're going to give to you what you want, right? We all do it. But I need to know a little bit about a struggle. So, because maybe I'm going through that same thing and how you got over it and what I can do to maybe apply some of those things that you did, although our journeys look differently, it doesn't mean that I can't take from you and see if it will work for me in some way, shape, or form. And I just don't think that we have enough of that. Even as you know, a heterosexual woman, a trans woman. I mean, we all have had these life stories, and the people who are coming up, they need to learn. They need to learn from women who are powerful women in the industry who have a story to tell and to share with other people. My accompanist is watching right now, and her name is Muriel Balzer, and she said that only happens with trust, right? Yes, and very true that it does. That we learn that we can be vulnerable enough, you know, and that's part of the trust, that we're okay with that. That these people, the situation won't take us out. It won't intentionally try to do us any harm. And I just need to hear that. So I'm looking forward to your memoir, sis.
Oh, wait till you read it. Is a lot of people are really going to gag, because I think the biggest thing is that people don't expect people like myself to actually get into the real. And I will say, even the way I've been marketed over the years, for some reason, people just think that everything has been always magnificent. And, I've gotten so many letters from different people who say, oh my goodness, everything just seems to work out for you, blah, blah, blah. It's because I work very hard.
Period.
And on period. I'm always working. I'm always trudging along, and I have my own struggles just like anyone else, and I'm human. So with all those things being said, when you read the book and see where I came from, and you understand why I'm so driven, where I did not want to go back to, all of those things, I think it's important. And that's why I decided to do it at my age. I kept putting it off. And I kept saying, I don't know if I'm old enough that people would want to hear about my story. And I couldn't have been further from wrong.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it was self-published. It's going to be right on Amazon for everyone that's here and
Yeah,
see.
that's awesome.
And so I'm so excited about it.
How can we reach you if people want to hire you, come to the colleges, universities, or just you performing as a singer, as an artist, or you talking and inspiring some other youth that need it? I don't care what community the youth are in, but in particular, the LGBTQ plus community. How can we get a hold of you?
So I'm all over social media. So if I'm on Facebook and you look up Tona Brown with the blue check or my other public figure pages, you can also follow me and what I do with my students on AIDA Studios, theaidastudios.com, or go theaidastudios.com. Also, I have a website, tonabrown.com. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook primarily. So if you Google Tona Brown, you're gonna see all of those different things.
Great. And I put it up into the chat and made sure that people have some resources to get through because, so funny enough, your assistant, who's a wonderful person, I really can't wait to meet her. Just the email exchanges have been so beautiful and so authentic and so genuine. And I just appreciated the energy of her so much. But I was trying to do some research on the stuff before I had gotten your kit. And I was like, why don't I just type in her name instead of like I had a dumb aha moment. Like, and as soon as I did it, I was like, okay. And I had to write her back and be like, I am really, but here we go. Here it was.
My whole entire crew, like when you see the pictures of me and the people who get me looking the way I look for these shows, and they're all dynamic, very diverse group of people, and I like to support good people, who are trying to do something, they're getting somewhere in their career, and they're the top, the best of the best in their field, and I trust them in doing those things. And so, yeah, my whole team is awesome.
That's what it is. Listen, I've said it so many times to different people, the importance of having people who are on your team and finding the people who are open to wanting to help build the vision. Because sometimes people are not about that, but they see something with what it is you're trying to do. I call it ministry. And some people just call it purposely calling whatever it is. It really so helpful, and it's so incredibly powerful when you have people who are like, yeah, let's get this thing. I'm pushing you because I know when I push you, I'm pushing you too.
Right.
You're pushing me too. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you so much for joining us tonight. I mean, these conversations, I say it all the time, there's so many things that we could have spoken on, and time just moves by so quickly. But your presence here does more than I can say. Thank you for supporting the Muses Behind the Music. Tona,
thank you. Thank you for having me.
And I will continue to follow you and support you and your journey. I am really excited for the things to come. I'll be looking forward to that memoir.
Absolutely.
Thank you so very much. To everybody, I will see you in the next couple of weeks. And until then, peace and blessings.